Hello, and welcome to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Got a few people still popping in. So Michael will be with us here in just a second. He just brought the little man up and put him in the floor. You can probably hear bingo playing in the background. But we had an awesome session last night with the codependence group. Thank you, Susan Fluick, for facilitating that once again. And Michael is now with us, so I'm going to say welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome everybody. Delighted we get together again, and Melissa's got her hand up already, so let's say hello to Melissa. Hey there, young lady. What's happening? Gonna have to push your mute button, Melissa.
*6.
*6?
Okay.
Or if you're on Zoom, just hit your mute button. There you go. We got you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
We're good. Loud and clear.
All right. I've got kind of an issue I was hoping I could discuss, if that's all right.
Please, let's go for it. That's why we're here.
Okay. I've always been kind of a person who really, the outside world really never affected me. I mean, just because if nothing else, I kind of thought I can't really do anything about it. So I really was it never really bothered me or whatever, but I'm kind of like, kind of thrown for a loop with all this one or whatever. Just the kind of whole recent events of the world, like with those kids getting shot while praying, threw me for a loop. That girl on the train getting stabbed for no reason threw me for a loop, but I kind of got through it. And yesterday's events of Charlie Kirk getting shot while just talking, well,
Crazy.
Whether you agree with what he has to say or not is kind of irrelevant to me. He's a father,
Insane.
He's a husband, he's a human being. But just all three of those events, I don't know if they accumulated in me or not, but I'm just, it just like struck at the core of my soul for some reason. And like I said, I just don't do that. I mean, not that I don't grieve for somebody if something happens, but I mean, it really just struck at the core. And usually I'm like angry and sad all rolled up into one. And usually when I have those emotions, I turn to my worksheets because I know it's something in me. And to be honest, I almost don't even know how to move forward with this because I'm almost not sure if I'm grieving because our country sucks, and this is just grief because of that, or if something else is going on inside of me because this is affecting me so emotionally like it is. But then I also think, okay, what's going on inside of me because that's making this affect me this way, because it really, really is affecting me like in a way I don't even get. But then I think, okay, I don't even know which direction to go with this. So I'm turning to you and say, okay, Michael, fix me. So I'm just really at a loss.
Of course, Michael can't fix you. We know that, but we know that we can support you in looking at and healing whatever's going on. So that would be a starting point. And first of all, I want to agree with you 1,000%. This political rhetoric and this political violence has just gotten too insane. And, it's going to take a core group of people who make a change in their own minds, because my offering is it's a collective product. What's happening is a result of the collective mind. You go back to pre-World War II, and Carl Jung had a psychotherapy practice, and Carl Jung predicted almost everything that happened with the Third Reich in Germany back in the 30s and 40s. And his prediction came from the psychological work he was doing with his patients. He was in looking at the unconscious dynamics that he was dealing with in people. He's like, this is what's coming, folks. And he accurately predicted it. And, when individually and collectively the conversation gets as insane as it's been getting, then it's going to turn to the next level of violence. And sadly, it's pretty predictable historically, the next and the next and the next, unless somebody steps in. And so thanks for stepping up with the willingness to look at it. And it sounds like, first of all, there's that grief, and let's look at what grief is. So my offering is that grief is a thought disorder about loss. And so if you start looking around, and I certainly hear your concern and empathy for the loss of life, senseless loss of life. So it might look like worksheets on senselessness, on violence, on murder, to start to look at what that's resonated in you and start to clean that up so that energetically in those arenas you can contribute the presence of active love. There was a quote that came, and I don't remember who the physicist's name was, but I came across it and mentioned on the show a few weeks ago. And let's see if I can get that quote correctly. He spoke about I believe it was plant a flower in the earth and touch the farthest star. That every action and every behavior that we do, when you realize we live in this quantum energy world, every action, every behavior that we do has an impact on everything else. And that comes from the understanding that flows out of the theologies, and it flows out of the world of physics. Einstein says if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. If Charlie Kirk is literally an aspect of ourselves, then, gee, the loss of Charlie Kirk, again, as you said, whether you agree with him or not, is a horrific thing for a young man with a family, these two little girls losing their father, a wife losing her husband. And he was admired by a lot of people. So
Yeah.
if what comes up in me is grief, sadness, rage, hatred, vengeance, whatever, if you look on the news, all of those things are showing up. Who's got the courage to step up and heal those things? So if you were to do some forgiveness work around one of those emotional responses, which one would it be?
I guess that's where I'm so confused, because every worksheet I've ever done has really been about me working through my issues, and I'm not even sure. I mean, I am sad and I'm angry that it happened, but I don't know how to look within myself, because every time I've ever looked within myself, I've been able to say, oh, I got that from what happened as a child, or oh, I got that because I'm really dealing with this. And in this case, I'm going, I don't even, I mean, I understand I'm angry that they killed a father. I'm angry that they killed a human being. I'm angry that this is over cruelty.
My offering would be, no, you're not angry because they killed a human being or a father. You're angry because there's anger in you. If you're sad because there's sadness in you. If you're in fear, it's because there's fear in you. If you're in grief, it's because, and I'm talking about you and me and all of us, our whole culture, by about the age of 4, our whole culture trained each and every one of us to be card-carrying members of the one world universal religion of blame, suffering, pain, and trauma. And the way they taught us to do that was to structure our thinking so that our mind showed us that what's going on inside of us is caused by something outside of us. So when we start to face...
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking this has to be, because I always say everything's about myself, and that's what I sat down last night and tried to figure out, how is this about me? And that's where I'm stumped, is I'm trying to figure out, because I've always been able to figure out how it's about me, and I can't figure out how this is about me.
Okay, so you're joining the codependence to interdependence intensive at the perfect time, because it's coming up to a space where we look at what I call, and identifying that workshop as the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind, and Susan Fluick is facilitating that study. So, and you're joining it at the perfect time, and so the absolute number one across the board pseudo solution, what the mind, the non-being mind, based in the past, tells us is, if I could just figure this out. And my offering is, you can't figure it out. It's not possible. I mean, you may be let's take, it sounded like the strongest energy in that last statement you made was the anger that you have. Your mind tells you the anger is about that, but notice this isn't the first time you've experienced that quality of anger, right?
Yeah, true.
So the starting point would be a worksheet that says, I'm Melissa, who am love. I'm experiencing anger. What's my story? Violence in the world. A father was shot. What feelings does that resonate in me? Anger. Just to kind of short circuit, go through it in a short way. I know you've practiced the worksheet, so you're quite familiar with it. Then getting down, of course, stepping into the place of willingness. Okay, I'm willing to own this anger in me. I'm willing to process through it and be finished with my nervous system and my physiology being able to produce anger. So I have the willingness to go through the symptoms of healing. If I had control of, just say, the focal point being this Charlie Kirk being shot, if I had control over that situation, and let's say the object of attention I would assume would likely be the shooter, the person who did the shooting, would that be reasonable to assume?
That, or maybe just that people just stop the whole rhetoric of everything. I think that's
okay.
Maybe
Perfect.
Because that's kind of what I see it as. But
okay, so my goal in number 3 then would be that people stop the angry rhetoric. Would that be accurate?
yeah,
So now, recognizing that that's the goal that's causing my mind to bring anger up in me. So the rhetoric that I want to end out there, or the energy that I want to put an end to out there, is the very energy that's moving in me, anger.
yeah,
So so you've identified the goal. Then number 4 would be, so am I willing to just slow down for a minute, take a deep breath, and bring my nervous system back to a connected space of love? Like, if I had been standing in the space where Charlie Kirk was shot yesterday, and I had looked over and seen this person with a rifle and realized what kind of distorted space they were in, and now we're connected to love, I could have gone over to that person and said, hey, what would you have said to that person? If you could have set the ideal scenario for how to change what happened yesterday with that shooter, what would you be saying to that shooter?
good Lord. I don't know if you had the time. Ask him what's going on within him.
Okay.
And
So that would be a step toward offering him some healing, but you're in this scenario. He's ready to pull the trigger. You have the opportunity to give him an instruction. What's your instruction?
stop. Don't.
Okay, so the instruction is change your behavior. Can you be more specific? You don't have to identify what this is about. You don't have to figure it out, again, because the energetic dynamics, when you realize there are 1,000 generations of unresolved energetic patterns within us, figuring any one of them out, especially in interaction with another human being, is impossible. But what I can do when I can't figure it out is I can apply forgiveness, and I can start to dissolve the energy in me that is my problem. Now, certainly there's a problem in the world too. There are actions that are getting pretty bizarre. But right now, what I want to do is shift into an energy that, if instead of anger, going over to that person who is getting ready to pull the trigger, I could see the circumstance and the situation and stand in a mind of total love. Imagine that here I am, I'm Yeshua standing there, and I can embrace this whole situation in love, and I can walk over to the shooter and just embrace them and say, you're obviously hurting really badly. Would you breathe with me?
Yeah.
If I were connected to love, that's something I might be able to do and might diffuse the whole situation right there in an instant.
Yeah. Which is why it's bothering me so bad, because I'm usually the person who can stay calm, and I'm usually the person who doesn't get upset. And this just kind of pushed me over the edge.
So I want to acknowledge you for your willingness to own that and allow yourself to breathe into it. And how about, and I'll ask you as you do this, when you said you wanted them to change their behavior, would there be a more specific request of them? You're going to get to control the outcome of that situation. You have the opportunity the minute before the trigger's pulled to speak to the shooter.
Meaning what I would want them to actually do instead, or I don't know what you mean.
Yes. What would if you were to speak to them about creating a different outcome, what would you say to them?
I mean, like what I would want them to do, I'd maybe go sit and talk with Charlie instead.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be your goal in number 5.
Okay.
Now, I'll just invite you to take a look at your history, at your past, your relationships, your childhood. Is there anybody in your past that you would have liked to have been able to stop a behavior mid-sentence or mid-action and say, stop and just talk to them? Or maybe you were the object, stop and just talk to me. Are there any cases in your life where that would be applicable?
Oh God, no, I totally understand. It all leads back to my dad. Now it makes perfect sense.
Well, the power person dynamic.
Yeah. Which just leads back to my dad. He was just a complete abusive person who beat us kids and my mom. And never listened to anybody. And that was his
that
answer.
energy. Let's breathe that energy off of your field. Let's just take a couple of deep breaths. And anybody that's listening, if this is resonating for you, please just breathe with us. Just take 3 or 4 deep connected breaths. If you've been the subject of abuse, if you've been the abuser, join at this moment. Connect for a moment, if you would, to the presence of love. And just breathe into this. There's such a global impact of abuse going on. And remembering that we are energetic beings, if I hold that unresolved abuse energy in me, then literally on the level of physics, radiating out from me is the energy that supports abuse in the world. The more I hate the abuser, the more I would rage at the abuser, the stronger the energetic pattern in me radiates out into the world and supports abuse happening. The power I have is I can breathe, I can recognize that in me, and I can forgive that energy in me. And now I can literally radiate understanding and active present love. Now, with that shift in mind, standing in the energy field of the abuser or the guy who's getting ready to pull the trigger, I might not even need to say a word. Just that energetic shift in me, in the proximity of that person ready to pull the trigger, might have been enough for them to shake their heads a little bit and go, God, I remember how badly, I remember when I was a kid and my father pointed a gun at my mother, and oh my God, what I'm doing.
Which he did many times, literally.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, and snuck up on me.
Yeah. It's crazy. And the reason for doing this work, if you go back to Yeshua, who was a physicist, he makes the statement, a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. And he's obviously not talking about bread. Leavening, of course, is something we add to bread and it changes. We've got this flour, we add a little water, and then we add the leavening, and the whole thing changes. It rises, it turns into bread. Wow, with a little leavening. It transforms everything it touches. Yeshua says, a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. If you had been sitting there 10 feet from that shooter yesterday, and you had had the intuitive hit and looked over and saw that gun, had that memory surfaced in you and been able to forgive it, I propose that the energetic shift in you could have been enough to change the outcome of that whole scene. Could have.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would, but I'm saying it's possible that it would. And it would at least be an energetic vote towards shifting it. So, of course, we're not sitting there in that environment, but we do have a bird's eye view on the violence of the world. And if the violence of the world resonates some form of violent response in us, then energetically, one of the things that I used to do is I used to keynote. I haven't talked about this for a while. I've spoken of it many times on the radio show, but it fits here so perfectly. I used to keynote at a conference called Global Science. This goes back like 4 decades ago. It's out in Colorado and Florida. And I remember one year, a fellow who was a 23-year senior scientist from IBM, a gentleman named Marcel Vogel, sweet, sweet man, came to present at the conference. He was a fellow presenter. This guy had the kind of mind that Marcel had. And when I met him, he was in his 60s. He was 11 when he invented and patented chemical light. It's the kind of mind Marcel had. You go to a football game and you buy a light stick and you break the tubes in. There's a tube and you break the inner tubes and they mix chemicals and it lights up. At 11, he invented that, and his family was poor. They didn't have the money to patent it. And at 11, Marcel Vogel patented that invention. He worked for IBM. He was the only non-degreed scientist that ever worked at IBM. And he invented the magnetic coating. The reason we can do this show is because of computers. And he invented the magnetic coating in the side of a hard drive that allows it to store information. That's Marcel's mind. So here's Marcel, who presents at this global science conference. And what he comes to present is a thing called the Delaware camera. It was a camera invented by a gentleman named George Delaware, an Englishman. And this camera was different than any other camera you've ever seen. The normal camera, you click the aperture or the shutter and the aperture opens, and whatever's in front of the camera in the way of light energy is registered on the photographic plate. You develop it and you get a picture of what was in front of the camera. The Delaware camera is different. It has an aperture, but it also has a tuning mechanism, much like you would think of a radio tuner. So you tune that mechanism to a certain frequency, and if that frequency is present in front of the camera when you click the shutter, then the camera takes a picture of that which you do not see with your eye, but is present. For instance, one of the pictures that I've seen from the Delaware camera, he takes a picture of an acorn tuned properly, and what shows up on the photographic plate is an oak tree. And you say, wait a minute,
Oh,
how could you take a picture of an acorn and get an oak tree? Because we've got a tuning mechanism. This is a frequency world. Obviously, inside the acorn, like nobody's ever taken an acorn and planted it and got a lemon tree or gotten a Volkswagen or a rose bush. Every time you plant an acorn, you get an oak tree. Why? Because obviously inside of the acorn is the pattern for an oak tree. And just like, I'm sitting in a room and there is not one picture in this room. There's not one moving picture. But if I turn on the right tuning mechanism, my TV set, I can watch 1,000 different pictures. They're all here in the room, obviously, but I don't see them because I don't have the tuning mechanism for them. What the Delaware camera was able to do was attune to the frequency, obviously stored in the acorn, that's going to produce an oak tree and produces that picture. So the upshot of Marcel's presentation that year was, here are my pictures. Here is a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. Each of us is creators, and as creators, if you go to the opening words in the book of John, it doesn't say in the beginning was the Word and the Word became flesh. It says in the beginning was the mind energy and the mind energy became flesh. When I source mind energy, it literally tends to move in the direction of organizing matter into form. And so what Marcel was showing us is that when you think a thought, if it's a thought of violence, then you set up a field of violence. If there's anybody in the arena with the right tuning mechanism, i.e. a violent person, then energetically I add violence to them. Just by the fact that I have a history of being treated violently in childhood and I've never resolved it, I become an energetic, we could say, vote for violence to happen. What did you just do? You just breathed into and you took your vote back. You just changed that energetic dynamic in you. And when we can get enough people, when Yeshua was saying a little leavening leavens a whole loaf, when we get enough people who are willing to do the piece of work that you just did, look at what you just looked at, share with the community of love that's here to support you and breathe through it, you just weakened the vibratory energy of violence in the world. That's how it's going to change. It's not going to change by one of us who have unresolved violence getting angry and going out and beating up on the person who's beating up on somebody else. Because, of course, the person who's beating up on the person who's beating up is going to inspire more beating up of more people. And this cycle of energy goes on.
yeah.
So my offering would be that I would suggest that you look at the depth of this issue for you, that you do worksheets on what you observed Dad doing with Mom, with you as a child, any other family members. You might this is a wound that's been opened up, and as you heal that wound in yourself, you literally become you literally develop the capacity to become the energetic healer of that wound in others. You energetically become the space that can dissolve, can absorb, can free others of that very dynamic. And that's what's going to change the world. And right now, the insanity is pretty rampant.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting insane about the insanity, and they don't realize that all they're doing is contributing to it. When we step into our work, the game changes.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a wound I had thought I had healed long ago through a lot of stuff, and I didn't make the connection. I don't know why I didn't make the connection, but you're absolutely 100% right. I mean, I was trying to make the connection, and I don't know why I didn't, but it makes total sense now. And thank you very much. I mean,
no, and my offering is that you've clearly have done work around that wound, but you're not finished. And the work you did today, you can only heal an energetic wound to the depth that you've got the strength and vitality to reach into yourself. So if there's a wound that's, what you've described, I would say is on a scale of 1 to 10 is a level 10 wound. But if the way I live my life, the way I eat, my nutrition, my exercise habits, all of that, if I'm at a level, let's say level 5 vitality, then I can only go into the depth of the level 5 assault and heal it to that level in my physiology. When I change and shift, like one of the things you'll get with the codependence self-study and joining it with Susan doing that on Sundays and Wednesdays, is you're going to get an access to a food program on our private Facebook page, and access to an app called Trello that has really healthy recipes and ways to prepare food. Now, that might be something that's appealing to you, and if it is, you're going to change your vitality with that. And as let's say you decide to make that shift, you go from a level 5 vitality to a 6. Well, guess what? Now you're going to get to look at that wound again.
Yeah, that's one of the main directions I'm heading.
Yeah. Awesome. And so each time you hit a new level of vitality, each time you take a burden, the piece of work you just did, and I assume you're going to probably do some more worksheets around it, knowing you, the work you've just done, you've just unloaded, and each time you take a load off of your back, you get to a new level of vitality, which means you get to be able to go to a new depth, which means you get to go to a new level. And, that process goes on until you are at full vitality and can totally, completely face and discharge all of the energy around violent attack that you or your bloodline have ever been subject to. I can just about guarantee, I know nothing about your family, but I can just about guarantee that if I were to be able to sit down with your father when he was 10 years old, he'd be telling us in tears about the wounds that he received in his family system from violence, or the wounds he watched.
Oh, meaning I know many, so I can only imagine what I don't know about.
Yeah. So that's in our genes. And energetically, we have this collective creative process going on. And energetically, what we're vital enough and willing enough to clean up, we get to change that dynamic for the world. And that's one of the reasons why we're working with this work and doing everything we can to make it available to every mind, heart, and being, because the more people who step in and go, oh, I have that wound. Oh, I didn't know that was going on in me. Oh, I never put that together. You get to move through it and clean it up, and wow, things shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the collective game is going to change.
Okay. As always, now I got a ton more stuff direction to go. I have one more question, and that'll be it.
Please go for it.
This brought up, it made me think about it. Like we were just talking about the gun situation as far as that goes. I mean, I grew up around guns. I grew up on a farm. I grew up on all that stuff or whatever.
Right.
It made me think about it. I mean, I've always, if I had an issue in my head or something came up, I've always thoroughly did worksheets and dealt with it as far as that goes. And
Right.
I've always thought about, okay, what's associated with what. Now I'm wondering, I mean, should I actively try to think and look back and come up with events that maybe I should deal with?
I would suggest if you're ready for that, yes.
Because like you talked about the gun, maybe shooting. I mean, I could probably, that was my dad's thing, to pull out a gun and scare all of us. I mean, is that something I should try to go back and go, oh, I could name this time or that time or this time?
Yes.
I mean, because I just don't blew it off.
I would do worksheets on those memories, yes. Each and every one that comes to the surface. And as you do, there'll probably be other shades of it that will show up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I mean, I actually feel like so much better right now. I mean, I hid myself from the world last night because I felt angry and everything. And like I said, I don't want to send that out to anybody. And I feel so much better right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
as always,
remember that, and the whole objective of this codependence to interdependence communication practicum, and the fact that Susan's facilitating, is to create support for people being able to face these kinds of things. And take the tools and in a community of support, be able to look at these principles, apply them, bring forward the past pains, traumas, unresolved issues of the generations, and bring them to and strengthen the mind of present love in you, so that literally just by turning your attention to an issue of trauma, the trauma starts to dissolve and heal, because literally you start to contribute a different energy to what's going on in the world when you bring a mind of active present love to it, rather than the mind of unresolved fear, sadness, grief, rage, pain, trauma.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's why I just called in and hit 9 right away. I was like, I got to deal with this. So
Thank you for your courage and your willingness. That's awesome.
and thank you for everything as always.
You
I
got it.
appreciate it.
And
all right,
always,
well,
we're here anytime. Call, and it doesn't matter how deep your question is, how much time you need. That's what we're here to do.
well, thank you for everything as always. I appreciate it.
Okay, delighted. Blessings.
Thank you.
Sally, you had your hand up. You had a thought for us?
I don't think I consciously put my hand up. I had
okay.
many thoughts while Melissa was processing, and you covered some good material. So, in the light of current political insanity, that was really a good repeat for any of us that are feeling less than positive about what's happening right now. And it reminded me of myself and couple of friends of mine in the early days of maybe 35 years ago, the early days of my work, when
Right.
I was going to, like rallies to protest the Vietnam War, and I didn't agree with our being in that war. And so I was going to these various things to stand up against what the United States was doing. And I remember also I was doing a lot of yoga, and the vibration of bad othering in the protesting energy was resonating with all these parts of me that hadn't been healed. And the yoga classes were all about peace, love, and harmony, the unity of all people. And it was like living two lives. And after a while, I got to realizing in one environment, I felt more at home in myself and more able to give oxygen to other people in the form of love and compassion. And in the other environment, I was like making myself feel important, but I was lames. So anyway, that's all I had to say about what we just went through.
Good catch. Good catch. What's the motivation behind the activation or the activities one does as an activist? It's really important, because action taken against insanity, that itself is insane, just increases the insanity. Action taken by a healed mind toward insanity brings healing to the insanity. So I'm with you.
Yes, amen.
Amen and a woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Dusty, you have a thought for us, sir?
Yes. Hello, good sir, and everybody.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you very much. That woman, certainly, the woman, I'm sorry I missed her name, but who was
Melissa.
Very frustrated. Yeah, frustrated with the current events, and like, who isn't? I mean, like, at least half the people in this country are, and
pretty crazy.
It kind of, brings me back, and in terms of a solution, we're all feeling, to a certain degree, or not all, a lot of us are feeling to a certain degree helpless in the face, just kind of how it was maybe back in Germany prior to World War II or something. But it's like a certain helplessness. But if we go back to the little prayer, or I guess you could call it, it's been more tried and proven than just about anything I know, is the 12-step one that goes, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it occurs to me, and all I can do, or what I do, let's put it that way, is I'm not a hater, never have been, luckily. I thank God for that. But I disconnect emotionally. Doesn't mean I don't notice and take stock and care, but from the insanity as much as I can. Now, there is a collective consciousness pressure that comes at us, but we just have to know that and deal with it. And then, so the serenity to accept the things we can't change. Well, that helpless feeling is part of that. So what you do is, if you can, if I find, I'm going to speak first person, disconnect, disconnect isn't quite the right word, but I think you know where I'm going with it. I don't make myself a victim of it. But what I do is what I can do. And so that's the point of the serenity prayer. So, for instance, there's a lot of things. I mean, you're doing your show, different people are doing different things, they're doing what they can, but like every evening, I do an hour or two of meditation and prayer, and I, honest to God, feel like that is a force in this universe that I'm trying to bring in higher forces and let them go where they will. And there are, and we can all do something. Whatever it is we can do, and for many of us, it'll be internal in many ways. Do it. And as far as the insanity that goes around us, only thing I have to say about that is do not hate. I repeat, do not hate. Like you said earlier, if you hate, you add to the hate. Or you said something like that.
And you give up your human life.
Hate. There's no reason to hate. You can dislike, you can do that, blah, blah, you can be angry, you can do that, but hate is a malevolent darkness that serves nothing.
I agree.
And that was basically, I just had that offering about, because it's been difficult for me because I've got a neighbor across the street that hates me for political reasons, I think, and and so I have really struggled. I'm not letting the oppressiveness of the human, it's more than just hate and violence now. There's confusion. Well, as much as possible, disconnect. Do what you can, folks. Let's do what we can. Let's be the 110th monkey or whatever it's going to take to make this work.
I'm with you, Dusty. And thanks for the meditations you do. I know that's a dedication of yours, has been for years, of shifting that energy on the planet. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And there's more at stake here, by the way, and I'll leave with this, than just humans. It's the whole everything. There's, 3 billion other species? We're all in it together. So I leave you with that, unless you've got something you want to say to me. I would say, God bless everybody and everything.
All right. Blessings accepted in return, Dusty. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
All right. There's a wonderful lesson in the Course in Miracles The lesson is called responsibility for sight, and here's how it goes. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Deceive yourself no longer that you are helpless in the face of what is done to you. Acknowledge but that you have been mistaken, and all effects of your mistakes will disappear. It is impossible that you, the son or daughter of the Creator, can be merely driven by events outside of you. It is impossible that happenings that come to you were not your choice. Your power of decision is the determiner of every situation in which you seem to find yourself by chance or accident. No accident nor chance is possible within this universe, as the Creator created it, outside of which is nothing. Suffer, and you decided sin was your goal. And to really recognize, and some people would put that thought or that passage into the category of blaming the victim. And that's not the idea here. The idea is to recognize that it is a participatory world. We are not independent of anything that happens to us. And if something occurs that resonates something in us, one of the reasons that something occurred is because that something was in us. It's part of the creative process. And so to take each situation where we see anyone or ourselves being victimized, look for the part of us that can shift in response to that through forgiveness and change the game. And that's where we want to head. And Miss Susan, you have a thought for us.
First of all, thanks to Melissa for working that. Oh my God, I cried all the way through that. Because it's locked in the physiology, I said in the chat. My father did that to my siblings and, held shot at my sister when she's trying to escape due to, she came forward with sexual abuse. And then also, threatening to hang my brothers and my mother and with a gun to their head. So, what I want to share is because I know on the I have to speak for the codependency because all that is not God is coming to the surface. That's within this physiology of mine. And Melissa, thank you for resonating that so this could come out. And even anything, as you said, thank you so much for what you just illustrated in the Course in Miracles, because I know for me now, it's just going inside. If there's an upset or instantly, I know that it's cleaning out the carbon-based memory. And my job, as you said, my role is just to keep love conscious, present, and active, because I know I'm doing the work. And I'm connected with the frontal lobe of Rachma open and the perception that it's coming back. And I see lots of opportunities for love to come back, lots of moments of that, but also still, because it's in my structure, family system trauma, there is hostility and fear coming through as irritation. And then I wanted to share this story because I was at my previous husband's last night. I mean, this was so clear. I was like, oh my gosh. So he starts telling me, I'm over there, and he starts telling me he's been really distant with me recently. And he started telling me why. And he said, because he doesn't feel heard, all of these things. So I just listened and I paced back what he was feeling. And then I came home, I apologized because I said, that's not my intention. I want to show up and be that you feel valued in my presence. And if I'm doing anything unlike that, then I take accountability for that. And I want to make a commitment, as you've taught us, to make a commitment to and these are the actions I'm going to take. So I go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and I realize I am doing exactly to him the thing I hate that he does to me the most. He discounts when he said I discounted his friends. He named a whole bunch of things. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Our person dynamic in spades.
I know, but I never saw it. And I was with him for 23 years. And the exact thing that I was doing the exact thing to him that I hated the most that he did to me. And so I got to follow up and with a text this morning, and I mirrored back everything that he had said to me, and I made a deep commitment that I promise that, I'm committed to change, and this is how I'm going to show up differently. And if you notice I am going back to past behavior, please remind me gently so I can adopt this new way of being. So that's a testament to the work that the truth of how I'm showing up in the world was brought forward. And so I could actually atone and correct that and return my consciousness back to God in the truth of who I am. And then to come here today, and then of course Melissa doing the work, which was brilliant because I sat there and cried all the way through it and did a worksheet. And it's in my physiology. Within me is what my siblings went through. Energetically, it's charged. And can I hold love active present while I process all that is not God? So thank you. That's yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I keep saying to you, Michael, I had like what's coming up with facilitating this this 16-week program, and we're only in week 6. That's
Well, I've spoken many times with you that watching how you've taken this and how quickly you're turning it around. I have the experience and the knowledge of what you're putting yourself through to do it, and the speed at which you're working, and it's pretty awesome. Very
oh
laudable,
wow.
and
Yeah.
appreciate it. And you know, my take is this power person again from the codependence workshop. Once the power person dynamic is instilled in someone's mind, there are only 3 behaviors that we can do, and they're based in the power person. The level of stress we're under will determine what we do. When there's little or no stress, we'll do what we did to get along with our power person. When stress starts to build, we'll do what we did to resist and survive with our power person. When we become ultra stressed, we'll do what our power person did to us that we hated the most. But here's one of the tricks. When we do what our power person did to us that we hated the most, we don't call it what we called it when they did it to us. We may have looked at when they did it and they went, man, that was so abusive and brutal. And we might say, well, I'm just raising my voice in order to support you and bring you healing, and do exactly the same thing the power person did without awareness that that's what's underlying it. And my take is that dynamic runs literally the whole world. Every government, every business, every community, virtually every family is run by that dynamic. And and until that dynamic is uncovered and forgiven from within the human structure, that person's life, I don't care whether they're 42 or 92, that's what their behavior is going to be based on. And as far as I know, until that principle, that understanding specifically came forward, there's nowhere in the world you're going to find it, and it runs the world.
Mm-hmm. And seeing
So,
that the resonant, like just as to further that, like Duncan resonating that to me, it's on, right? It's within me, and then I got the mirror of it back. And I've been blaming him for all this time when it was my energy generating the image in my head and projecting it, or extending it out into the world, and to mirror it back to me how I'm showing up. Like I'm so glad I'm conscious of that right now. Like that I got like, oh my gosh, it was just a light bulb moment.
huge.
Huge,
And the
huge.
biggest contribution from that will be to your son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to
He's not going
Duncan.
to have to live it.
Yeah. And then also cleaning up that energy, because we came together because we had the same bags of garbage, that resonant energy where his power person did the same thing. And here we are playing that dance constantly, and from a non-being mind, and not being able to see the genuine truth of each other, so he could be embraced in my love and I could be embraced in his, and then truth could be revealed of that love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a really beautiful opportunity to see past distortion through, to clean that out of the way. And yeah, I really feel proud that the way I followed through, and so he was really heard. and that I took responsibility for my being
Nice
and
work.
not showing up. Yeah, I feel really proud of
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Course in Miracles would say to you, millions yet unborn will benefit from that piece of work you just did.
Yeah,
Melissa, millions yet unborn will benefit from that piece of work you just did.
I know I sure did from Melissa's work. It just, I could feel the physiology. And also, I want to say this, when she was working, the person, I don't watch the news, so none of that stuff comes into my field. I don't, because it's not, I'm on that's a choice I've made. But when she was doing that work, that energy was already helping him on the other side. That question you asked of that Charlie, if that was his name, we were changing the dynamic so he could perceive through the lens of love and what he has to carry forward and do his own healing. I could feel it. So what a blessing to humanity, because we're all just different cells in this one petri dish of a brain.
Exactly.
And when we get to hold him in love, and yes, the behavior in God, God does not judge in love, because love is independent. So we were able to hold that on this plane for his healing on the next plane. And that just brings tears. I can feel really emotional with that, because that person to be in that much pain in his world that he would want to take a life of another. You can imagine what happened to him in his power person dynamic. And he had no platform to know that he was love and that there was a different choice of behavior. And the only thing he knew was to act on a non-being mind. And we all have to take responsibility. And I wrote down, I'm only here to clean up my own mind. And anything I see in my outer world that's not reflecting love, I got cleanup to do. Because I'm making the image and then extending it out and making this reality projection, or this reality perception that I've got in my head. So anyway, thank you for
And to
listening to all that.
recognize, yeah, honored and delighted, and to recognize that these tools were brought to the earth over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And the ego mind got a hold of it and turned it backward once again. The trickster, Satan, the resistor, one who misleads. It's an internal process, and it takes continuous vigilance and continuous work to keep cleaning up the mess, to keep returning to, especially when you realize these generational patterns, when they come up, they can come up with such force.
Yeah. And the hate my
and
father had. Yeah.
and underlying those underlying forces, remember the characteristic that our the mind of man in us has is it takes thoughts and turns them into pictures. Don't believe the pictures in your mind,
Yeah.
because they're nothing but a reflection of your thoughts. Don't behave according to the pictures in your mind and the inclinations in your physiology. Stop doing what you feel like doing. Make a commitment. And I just put a minute ago, I put the passage. Someone had asked about the passage on responsibility for sight. I pasted it in with a video on forgiveness, and then I put the commitment in. Find something. The purpose of that commitment is to recognize, here's what a personal code of a true human being would look like. Now, if that one doesn't work for you, fine. Use it as a foundation or an inspiration to go create one of your own, but make a commitment to do what your sane being mind of love says to do. And then, regardless of what you feel like, regardless of what your mind of man is saying in you, you do what your commitment is. And you're bringing in the energetic patterns that change the whole game for all of the generations.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
when we're freed from the desert. That's when we move into the promised land.
And then I just one other thing to add to that. It's never too late. Like even that Melissa had those, like Melissa was aware enough that she knew something, even though there was judgment or blame going on, she came and worked it. So it doesn't matter to God whether we do it during in the exact moment or we come back and clean it up, because it's an energy game. The fact this got cleaned up, it got uploaded to the cloud, the collective cloud. And it's for everyone that has experienced that in their reality. It moves it into love. So brilliant work with that one. Thanks so much, Michael.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's after 2 o'clock already. Have a blessed one. Holding the space for the best year yet of your